After a decade as a leadership coach, I have seen one management mistake that is sabotaging many, if not most, managers, and that is their time management doesn't balance time for themselves and that of the needs of their team. Now, my clients are always telling me, Helen, I just don't have any time. And they feel like they're chasing their tail and they don't have time for the high value activities that they know would make the biggest impact both for themselves and for their teams and their organizations. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 time management strategies for managers that will not only improve yours and your team's results, but also will give you a renewed sense of calm and control. My name is Helen Bryant. I am an ex-corporate leader and leadership coach, and I remember that pressure so well. Just running around from meeting to meeting. Whenever I came across the floor, people would say, Helen, have you just got a minute? And I would jump into conversation here or a conversation there. Now, I was blessed by the fact that early on in my career, my manager sat me down and said, Helen, it is fundamentally different to manage your time as an individual as it is to manage your time as a manager of a team. And he's right, because as an individual, you have a level of autonomy and scope where you can plan your time. Obviously, you work with other people, but you can focus in. And actually, there are loads of YouTubes and books that focus on time management as an individual. But as a manager, you have all of that, plus all these other people who put demands on you. And people can be tricky, especially people bringing problems, which they often do. And so therefore, being able to manage your time so that you don't fall into this reactive bouncing from one thing to another is so important. Roll forward a number of years to being a leadership coach, and through many conversations in one-on-one coaching and group workshops, I've had a realization that most managers do not have an effective system for how they manage their time that balances that element of what they need to do and what their roles and responsibilities towards their team. And furthermore, I think it can have a really significant impact on their success in their role, because when I'm running workshops with managers and they're learning new leadership skills, one of the things we often do is work on what's the barriers, what's stopping you achieving a particular leadership skill. And I cannot tell you the number of times that is because they're not planning and thinking about a particular topic at the right time. I'm a firm believer that you have expertise, and if you just ask the right question at the right time, you will get the answer. And if you don't know, you will have time to go to other people to build that right answer. That is why you need a system in how you manage, a routine and ritual that keeps you on track, keeps the important things front of mind, and gives you space to think and answer the right question at the right time. Let's look at 5 strategies that could make up the building blocks of your system. For managers, when it comes to planning, I see what I call the Goldilocks and the 3 bears effect when it comes to planning. So there are 3 windows of time that I think can be really important for a manager. The first is obviously the annual planning, the long-term planning. Now, that, because it's a business process, most managers will go through that and become very clear as they set the objectives for the year of what it is their team are going to achieve. Now, this is great for that strategic view, but the problem with it, it's big and it's long term, and things change very fast. At the other end, we have weekly planning. Well, the challenge with weekly planning is you're in the action, aren't you? You're right down there, right now, doing everything, and it's difficult to stand back. So it's too small and too near the action. The just right window of time for planning for managers is quarterly planning. That moment to review where you've got to, take account of any changes, and then turn that plan into a tangible, doable, clear plan is absolutely critical. It drives accountability, it gives you time to adjust in flight and solve problems, and brings clarity to both you and your team. It's so important, and yet I find so few managers actually do it. So this is just critical to be part of your system. Give yourself 2 hours every quarter to check where you've been and reset the focus for the coming 12 weeks. One of the key things to do in your quarterly planning is to prioritize. I was talking with a coaching client a little while back, and he told me, he literally started the call by saying, Helen, I had an absolute disaster of a team meeting this week. And I was asking why. And he said, it just all kicked off. And it got a bit out of control. Everybody was so frustrated. And ultimately, he goes, it was my fault. And I was like, why? And he said, because I could see it coming. He goes, we had so much on, and I was adopting the we can do it approach. And yet I knew these priorities were starting to conflict. And he is reflecting a really important point for managers. Managers, like everybody else, want to be can-do and achieve as much as possible. But in not facing into the choices and decisions and priorities within the team, what you do is just cause trouble further down the line. And we know that work changes over time. You know, somebody leaves, somebody new joins, but they're not up to speed. Projects go faster, projects go slower. And the challenge with priorities is that each individual piece of work or project can seem quite doable. The issue for managers is when you stack all those up. And in fact, now you don't have enough time, people, money to do the thing that you were aiming to do, or at least do it well. And if you don't make those decisions, individuals in your team will, and they will not necessarily be the high value decision that you would make. It could be different. So managers have to have courage and face into making these decisions. Be constantly clear of what the priorities are for you and for the team, and be comfortable with that choice and know what to do. Now, why quarterly planning is so important for this is that you've got time to adjust. You've got time to look at alternatives. Is there something you could simplify? Something that you could build a contingency on? Is there someone you can go and talk to see if there is a way through? Time to engage with your manager and say, which of all of these things we're doing is the most important right now, so that you can reflect their prioritization in your team. Way too many managers are scared of making those decisions, so they avoid making those decisions, and as a consequence can end up in situations where their team are frustrated, overworked, and not aligned. So making those priority decisions is key to your time management and planning. Those priorities can then guide you through the quarter, the month, and the week. Talking of weeks, have you ever had a week where it has just gone so fast you feel like your feet didn't even touch the ground, and that you get to the end and you kind of look back and go, what happened? Monday seems like such a long time ago. Are you clear at that point that you did the high value activities? And sometimes you look and you think, no, I didn't at all. I've just got distracted by other stuff. Because here's the challenge with weekly planning. For many, they have a calendar which is already quite full of meetings. And then they have a to-do list, which can be very long. It can be in a notebook. It can be on a task manager. The challenge is that when we look at that to-do list, it's very easy to underestimate how long something's going to take and not see those priority activities in that list. So when it comes to weekly planning, it is really important to translate the to-do list into your diary, so that you start 9 o'clock at the beginning every week with a roadmap of success that has your meetings and the key activities you need to deliver that week already all planned out. Time blocking is perfect for this, and what it'll allow you to do, especially if you're prioritizing, you will just see, am I fitting in the important activities that are really going to drive myself and my team forward? And you'll also see when you're spending a lot of time on lower value activities, it is critical to see your work in the round and know when you are going to do things. So it's a vital task. When should you do it? Well, as long as it's done by Monday at 9 o'clock and you have that clarity of plan, you're done. I have moved to a Monday 8 till 9. It is a routine and ritual that I now really look forward to, that I know the first hour of the week, I will be sitting down with my coffee, planning out the week. And the weekly planning normally only takes about 30 minutes, but I use time for just, firing off emails and doing some other quick admin that sets me up well. A weekly planning time for yourself to think and work out when you're going to do things, should absolutely be in your time management system as a manager. When I sit down with clients and we're working through how they're going to put this into action, one of the things they often say to me is, "Oh, Helen, this is all great, me planning my week, but my team will never let me do this because they've just got needs and they'll need me at different times." And I think you should just face into, yeah, they will. But the challenge with this is that, say you've set some time for 1 hour of focused work on a report, and 10 minutes in, somebody comes along and says, "Oh, have you just got a minute?" And you respond to that. Research tells us that it takes 23 minutes from being deeply focused on one thing to get back onto that work. So you've set aside an hour. That is already now an unproductive amount of time because you've lost a third of it switching. So you need to protect that time. But on the flip side, you also know you are going to have these requests. So what I would do is schedule time when you're available for that. Now, back in the day, when I was in the corporate world, 4 till 5, I'd always be at my desk and I was open for chats. Now, it really worked for me because my energy to do deeper work had gone by then, but I am a people person. So I love chatting to people in that time. It gave me energy. Have a cup of tea and just be having one chat after another. So you set a time or times in your day and let your team know. Anytime then, I am open, come talk. But at the same time, you protect that time, which is high value and important. It's often called office hours, and I'd absolutely recommend you put that into your system and make sure your team are aligned to it, that they know what it is. But they also know what would be the important scenarios where you don't mind being interrupted, just so it's really clear. Alignment with your team and your way of working is another important dimension. You can build rhythms and routines within the team as well as just for yourself, and these can be incredibly successful. But I think there are two that have a disproportionate effect and should be in every manager's operating system. They are firstly your one-to-ones. Your one-to-ones are the heartbeat of how you work with the people in your team. These regular catch-ups, consistent discussions that focus on their needs. They're so valuable, yet so often misunderstood, I find. I have already put together several resources on one-to-ones, and if you click either here or down there, you will find my resources, a playlist of video lessons on one-to-ones, and my one-to-one toolkit, which is some tools and templates that can help you make those sessions work brilliantly. So I'd go there. The second alignment moment to get right is aligned to that vital moment of planning, your quarterly planning. And it is a quarterly team meeting. And it's different to your other team meetings. It is about aligning everybody behind that quarter plan. And its mode is very much problem solving. This is what we've got to achieve. What are the problems and blockages that we need to work through? You want everybody leaving that meeting super clear on what needs to be done and what the plan is. What these can do is massively improve the teamwork because people see how all the work fits together. Those priority choices become clear. People problem solve where there are blockages, and they really become a critical catalyst to a successful quarter. So I would definitely have those two alignment points scheduled in your diary, forever protected, in order that you make sure that you and your team do your best work. When I'm working with clients as they start to implement their own time management process, which I would call a manager OS, they often say to me, I'm just not sure I've got enough time to do it. It's actually 16 hours. A good quarterly planning and then weekly planning is 16 hours a quarter. Now, there are 2,040 hours in a 12-week window of time. Now, I know you want a weekend. I know you want to sleep. I know you want some evening time with your family and your friends, but that still leaves 540 hours. So 16 hours is just 3% of your time, and it will step change your performance. So the starting point is schedule the time and protect it. Schedule the quarterly planning, schedule the weekly planning, schedule your office hours, and see what happens as a result of protecting that time and moving over to that way of working. I promise you, it makes such a difference. Now, if you've got this far in the video, first off, thank you, but you cannot have missed how important quarterly planning is to your whole planning process as a manager. And this video here, the ultimate guide to quarterly planning, is where I would go next, where I explain in much more detail what you think about and what you plan for when you are doing your quarterly planning. And I will see you there or in the next video. Take care.